Star Trek Lower Decks just finished its second season on Paramount Plus, so let's talk about it. Um, out of all the new Star Trek shows, this one I think is the most hated, honestly. And I really don't get the hate for like shows like Picard and Discovery. This one I get. Not saying it's horrible or a really bad show, but I do understand where the hate comes from with this show. This show has a lot of issues with it, and yeah, let's kind of talk about my experience with this show. So I just watched it, the first two seasons. I had seen season one a while ago, but I watched season two again for the first time because it just came out, just finished. I and When I first saw the trailer for season one of Lower Decks, I had thought that it was just some Rick and Morty rip-off Star Trek show, and I'm like, that doesn't look like Star Trek. It looks like some Rick and Morty type rip-off. Now, a lot of that had to do with the art style, and when you watch the show, I don't know if I would call it that, because they're very different shows, but at the same time, it does feel like it's kind of imitating its style and humor a little bit, and the biggest issue with this show, okay, if this wasn't a Star Trek show, it would be a 5 out of 10 show. 5 out of 10. It would be fine. But because it is a Star Trek show, it makes it so much worse than that. Because, it's a bland, boring show, but when you say it's a Star Trek show, then it becomes a problem of where this show does not feel like a Star Trek show. The main concept of the show is it's a workplace comedy with all these characters on the ship, and they go through different planets, and they go through different characters, and they all go through different workplace situations. And it just doesn't work as a Star Trek show. Now, clearly, there is love from the crew here who I can tell are Star Trek fans. There are deep cut references that I think even the hardest of hardcore Star Trek fans won't get. Just so many deep cut references and funny jokes and clever things. One of the first trailers had a joke about a phaser, and that joke was kind of a deep cut reference, and it was funny. There are jokes like that really, really work if you know Star Trek. But that's not majority of the humor here. It isn't. A lot of the humor is just these characters. And these characters aren't very interesting. They don't say very funny lines. And they're in generic, stories that you would see in shows like this. Like, for example, there's one episode in season one where Zach, I believe is his name, I forget, says that he has a girlfriend, and the one girl thinks she's an alien because oh my gosh, how dare he be happy with the woman because he sucks. And so she tries to prove it, and then she realizes, hey, she's probably not an alien, gives her a chance, and then they realize she is an alien. Like that, we've seen that kind of plot a million times over. And there are things like that in the show that hurt it, I think. Season 2 is definitely better, but I wouldn't say it's much of an improvement as compared to Star Trek Discovery Season 2 to 1. I don't think it is that much of an improvement there. I think it hurts this show. Yeah, I just wasn't impressed by this show. I'm fine with the Star Trek animated series, but it just doesn't feel like Star Trek. And also, let's be real, kind of imitating Rick and Morty style is ridiculous for Star Trek, because Rick and Morty is such the opposite of Star Trek. Now, I love Rick and Morty, okay, but the thing about Rick and Morty is it's a nihilistic show. Our main character believes that nothing matters and nothing he does matters, and he can hurt as many people as whoever he wants with no consequences. And now there's a reason for that, and it makes sense in the context of that show, of why stuff like that is there and present in that show. You know what I mean? But this show, like Star Trek, for example, is a show about brighter futures, brighter tomorrows, deeper horizons. So I'm not saying this show is a nihilistic show. I am saying that it does feel weird that it's slightly trying to imitate that style of that show, though. Because of that, I don't think it is quite on the level of that. But yeah, it bothers me. I don't really like this show. I don't think it's a horrible show. I'll probably keep watching until it finishes airing just because I like talking about, these Star Trek shows and giving them attention. Because even if I'm not a fan, someone else will. And I want people to check out the Star Trek shows on Paramount Plus so we can get more. Because I feel like Star Trek is one of my favorite franchises, and we're not getting enough of it as we probably should. And I guess we're getting more than we've ever gotten before. We have multiple shows running, but the main issue I have is that, we're moving very slow towards a trajectory with these shows. In terms of growing new fans, and I think that's bothering me.